to do something to combat segregation in the South. These are individuals who became historically famous, the Freedom Riders. We are extremely fortunate to have with us today some of those Freedom Riders to share their experience with us. This will essentially be a question and answer session, as I've explained to you. It will be moderated by Mr. Mario Salas and also by Ms. Barbara Bowie. And I will turn over the presentation to Ms. Bowie at this point. Let me
microphone. Can you hear me? Yes. Okay, this is very intimate. I like it. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. We've been going this morning. My name is Barbara Bowie, and I'm with the Dr. Bowie Scholarship Foundation here in San Antonio, actually located in Kirby. And we do performing arts after school programs. We've been doing that since '97. We do community services, food pantry. We do educational events such as this. But this is very close to me, what we're doing today. I'm not unlike the ones who are here. My brother is a Freedom Rider. He was invited. For the first time, he became ill about 2 weeks ago. He's been okay all this time, and then all of a sudden, when I need him to come here, he's sick. So I'm a little mad about that, but anyway, we replaced him with one of our other Freedom Riders. And the reason I can do that is because we all grew up together, what you need to know is that these are the Mississippi Freedom Riders. So I grew up in Jackson, Mississippi. And actually, Hezekiah and I graduated together. We all, were in neighborhoods, grew up in neighborhoods together. So that's how I'm able to kind of get a head up on bringing them here. And I want to do that even more. I want to introduce them right now. Starting with the young lady, right? Respect the lady. This is Miss Julia Humble. She was one of the first Freedom Riders to be arrested, and she'll kind of share some of that with you. We have Mr. Hezekiah Watkins is the youngest of the Freedom Riders. Actually, of course, he and I are about the same age. No, he's older. No. And his story is very interesting. And this is Mr. MacArthur Cotton, who worked very closely with CORE and SNCC. Those are the organizations that actually organize the Freedom Rides, which they will kind of explain, more about that. This morning, we have such a short period of time to deal with you guys when you may have more questions than we have time to answer. And I just want to let you know that tomorrow, tomorrow evening at 7 p.m. at Calvary Baptist Church on FM 78 in Converse, we will be having our main panel discussion, and of course we may have more time. We may be showing some film. So you might, if you're able, bring your parents or, come there and you can hear maybe more than you're able to hear here. So I'm just going to get started. I'm introducing now Mr. Mario Salas, San Antonio Freedom Rider, and he'll explain his history here as well. He will be our moderator, and so give a hand for Mr.
Yes, San Antonio is very close to Mexico, about 150 miles going west. And so San Antonio's slavery and segregation was somewhat tempered by the fact that we're so close to Mexico. And the reason for that is Mexico abolished slavery very early on. They had their first black president, by the way before the United States did. His name was Vicente Guerrero, and if you look on his birth records, he's the second president of Mexico, and his birth records say mulatto, meaning what? He's part African. So, a lot of people don't know that. But, so slavery was somewhat tempered in Texas, in San Antonio, and west of San Antonio and south of San Antonio because of the proximity to Mexico. You go east Texas, it's more like Mississippi. So, and that's Houston and Bryan and College Station and those places, Tyler, Texarkana, that was really like Mississippi. Jasper, where Mr. Byrd was dragged to death, you might remember that was in the papers. And that was not back in the 60s, that was not that long ago that actually took place. So, it's a little different here in San Antonio. In San Antonio, we didn't have freedom riders, we had freedom fighters. And because it was a different setup here than it was other places. How many of you know about the Majestic? Anybody been to the Majestic Theater here? Yeah. At one time, if you were African American, or you were a dark-skinned Mexican American, or you were white with a little bit too much curly hair, you might have to go to the back. And certainly if you were black, you always had to go to the back of the Majestic Theater. It was like that at the Texas, it was like that at the Aztec, it was like that at the Empire. All of them were segregated. So that's the way it was. The buses at one time were segregated as well. So San Antonio went through its own period of segregation, and it was fought. For Reverend Claude Black was one of the fighters, and I was in SNCC at the time we actually did some of the fighting. At the time, the mayor of San Antonio was Walter McAllister. Some of you may have heard of him. Auditorium up the street is SAC named after him, and he was noted for saying very racialized things. One of the things he said in the deed restrictions in the Bexar County Courthouse was, listen, volume 2773, if you want to look it up yourself, volume 2773, Bexar County Deeds Records, pages 501 to 503, and here's a quote: "No lot of tract of land shall ever be sold, given as a gift, or as a deed to any person of African American descent or Mexican American descent, and they are to serve only as household servants." That was a quote from Mayor Walter McAllister. So that's the kind of society we grew up in San Antonio, and it just goes on and on and on. A lot of stories to be told. Don't have the time to do all that here, but we had our own civil rights struggle in San Antonio, and I was very much a part of that, and happy to have been there. Well, what I want to do now is give everyone a chance to say something, and then we do the question and answers. We've got a small group, so it ought to be fun. So why don't we start with Julia, please. Julia Hummels.
Bring it on down.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
So I don't need the mic. I'll be obedient. Never have been, but
That doesn't mean I'm her
Did it
elder,
start?
okay?
let me say it's so wonderful to be here with you young people. And basically, what we're going to really talk about and what this whole gathering is about, in terms of what we're trying to do, what do we hope to accomplish? And that is to engage you, to inspire you, to recruit you, to enthrall you into action so that you become a part of the solution and are not part of the problem. What we did so many years ago, 50-some years ago, is really something that needs to be done now at this point. We're fighting the same battles, unfortunately. Housing, voting, discrimination, class discrimination, racial, sexual, all of those kind of things that we're dealing with. We dealt with them 50-some years ago. But we're hoping that you can do a better job of ending it so that your children won't have to be going through this. The Freedom Ride was a part of the civil rights movement. It was a part of the civil rights movement in that its main job was to test interstate travel. It had been ruled by the Supreme Court in 1943 and then I think in 1955 that interstate travel discrimination was unconstitutional. However, the states of Mississippi and Alabama paid no attention to that. They still had the signs up, they were still doing what they wanted to do. You were still getting on a bus or getting on a train or getting on a plane even, buying a ticket, paying the same amount of money that your white counterpart was paying, but you could not use any of the facilities. Now, the Supreme Court said that that was not to be allowed, but the signs were still up. When you walked into a bus station, you could not go through the front door. There was a window on the side that you had to purchase your ticket. You could not go into the restroom and use the facilities. You could not go to the restaurant and get a hot dog. So the movement of the Freedom Rider movement was about testing those facilities so that the signs could come down and everybody could experience the freedom of being able to exercise your right as a citizen of these United States. The whole emphasis is in all of this is that people have a right, have the rights, human rights, no matter what your color, your race, creed. Discrimination should not exist in any form of America, and that's what this is about, trying to get you engaged so that you will feel led to fight and to stand up and say to this world, no, we're not going to allow it, as we did as students. The young people were up in arms about this whole situation, and nobody was doing anything about it. So the students got together in different areas and began to protest, boycotts and picketing and all of these kinds of things, and then finally the Freedom Ride that we're discussing today. And that was because they just could not continue to keep their mouths closed as they were being, and people were saying, stay out of it, don't worry about it, it'll get better. And they were saying, oh no, that's not going to happen on my watch. And so we need you to really do the same kind of thing. So as we talk about the Freedom Ride, we want you to kind of put yourself in you're 17? Yes. 17, 18?
16.
16? Okay, in that area, because most of us started when we were 16 going to jail, because I know that I started when I was 16, I was arrested about 30 times. By the time I was 18 years old, so you're right in the right age for it. You need to get some arrests under your belt. Watch your slackers, okay, so. But seriously, that's what we want to, and we want to take you on this journey with us and really help you to step up and do some things that need to be done in this society.